Local News Week in Review. The Byron Smith appeal case had oral arguments Thursday morning at the Minnesota Supreme Court. The main issue brought up Thursday was about whether a pretrial hearing was improperly closed. That issue dominated the hour-long appeal that Byron Smith's attorneys brought after Smith was convicted of first-degree murder on Thanksgiving 2012 killings of Haley Keifer and Nick Brady. 6 justices focused mainly on whether the Morrison County District Court Judge Douglas Anderson improperly cleared the courtroom on the day of opening statements. During the closure, Anderson addressed Smith's desire to call acquaintances of Keifer and Brady to talk about their participation in previous burglaries. Smith's attorneys have said that jurors should have heard about those previous burglaries to help understand Smith's state of mind when he shot Keifer and Brady. Anderson ruled that evidence as inadmissible, saying there was no evidence that Smith knew that Keifer or Brady had burglarized his residence prior to Thanksgiving 2012 and therefore had no reason to fear the two of them specifically. The question the justices at the Minnesota State Supreme Court must decide is whether that closing prevented Smith from getting a fair trial. Smith's attorney, Steve Meshbesher, told the justices that cumulative errors meant that Smith did not get a fair trial. He cited prosecution errors during the grand jury proceedings that led to Smith being indicted, the court closure, Anderson's decisions that limited who could be called as defense witnesses, and what evidence he could present as reasons Smith did not get a fair trial. Brent Wartner, one of 2 prosecutors in the case, said outside of court that those were all lesser issues to the fact that Smith clearly premeditated and carried out the murders of the 2 teenagers. The Supreme Court has taken the case under advisement. A Little Falls man accused of killing his co-worker while driving intoxicated in Nicollet County is set to go to trial in November after 3 years of appeal delays. A Minnesota Supreme Court ruling issued a week ago found a state trooper had the authority to obtain a blood sample from 24-year-old Derek Stavish without obtaining a search warrant first. Stavish was arrested June 18, 2012, after a crash near the intersection of Highway 14 and Nicollet County Road 25 that killed his co-worker, 19-year-old Brett Lennon of Albany. Both men had been ejected from the pickup they were in. The crash reported about 10:30 that night. Witnesses reported both men had been drinking at the Crow Bar in Cortland, even though Lennon was underage. Lennon was pronounced dead at the scene, and Stavish was taken to the hospital in New Ulm by ambulance. Beer cans were scattered around the crash site, and witnesses reported Stavish had been driving when the 2 men left the bar. Authorities say Stavish also allegedly told an officer at the scene he had been driving. When the trooper spoke to him at the hospital, however, Stavish said Lennon was driving. After being told it was likely Stavish would be airlifted to a trauma center in another county, the trooper determined the hospital should take a blood sample to provide as evidence. The trooper reported smelling alcohol on Stavish's breath, and a blood test later showed Stavish had a blood alcohol content level 0.20, more than twice the legal limit. The Supreme Court ruling upheld the Court of Appeals ruling, but for a different reason. Its ruling said the appeals court erred by saying the fact that the crash was in one county, the suspect in another county, and there was a chance the suspect could be sent to Twin Cities or Rochester did not create the emergency situation that justified obtaining Stavish's blood sample without a warrant. The emergency was created because the trooper did know how much time he had before Stavish was taken to a location where the blood could not be drawn within the 2-hour time frame that would keep the alcohol level from changing too much. A man who admitted his participation in a shooting that injured a man during a drug deal was sentenced Thursday to 14 years, 2 months in prison. 19-year-old Tyree Sharp previously pled guilty to aiding and abetting attempted first-degree murder. He admitted being involved in a robbery in July 2014 in the 200 block of 33rd Avenue South in St. Cloud during a marijuana sale that led to the shooting. The Grub and Pub Bar in Morrison County is facing civil penalties after an undercover underage officer was allegedly served alcohol at the business and helped out of the building by the owner to escape citation when police arrived. According to the county attorney, Brian Middendorf, the county's options for responding to the incident include imposing a civil penalty up to $2,000 for each violation, suspending the liquor license for up to 60 days, and or attempting to revoke the license entirely. In the latter 2 cases, the license holder has a right to a hearing to contest the allegation, in which case the cost to hire an administrative law judge to oversee the hearing estimated at $1,000 to $2,000. The county board could also deny the 2 a.m. closing time time that's up for renewal for the Grub and Pub Bar in Morrison County on September 27th as a form of a penalty. The county attorney's office is still reviewing whether criminal charges will be filed against the bar owner, but said the current focus is on civil penalties. Mille Lacs County announced they have arrested a 28-year-old Little Falls man who had a warrant out for failing to appear in court on prostitution charges in Crow Wing County. Kevin Desmond Grosclose faces charges of solicitation after a sting operation in May and was to appear August 14th, but no-showed the hearing. He was arrested Monday afternoon and taken to Crow Wing County, where he had his first court appearance Tuesday. He will appear again in court on October 19th. No word if additional charges will be filed due to the no-show. 2 suspects face 5 felony criminal charges after assaulting 2 men for 6 hours Saturday at a Brainerd apartment. 30-year-old Brandon Powell and 29-year-old Darcy Watson were charged Tuesday with first-degree burglary, first-degree aggravated robbery, and kidnapping to facilitate a felony or flight. Bail was set at $200,000 with conditions. The next court appearance, September 21st. Motorists on Highway 27 between Little Falls and Long Prairie will encounter lane closures, flaggers, and potential delays as segments of the road are reduced to a single lane beginning on this coming Tuesday. The closures will occur 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mondays through Saturdays between 9th Street Northeast in Long Prairie and 127th Avenue in Little Falls and will be complete by the end of this month. Flaggers and a pilot car will allow one-way alternating traffic through each day's work zone. The closures are needed while crews resurface 22 miles of Highway 27. Senators Amy Klobuchar and Al Franken and Congressman Rick Nolan announced Tuesday the Department of Transportation has awarded the Brainerd Lakes Regional Airport nearly $600,000 for infrastructure improvements to the facility. The Little Falls City Council meets this coming week, Tuesday night at 7:30 at City Hall. That's due to the offices being closed on Monday for Labor Day. And the Little Falls Area Chamber of Commerce has announced Angela Dooley is their September Employee of the Month. Angela has worked at Coburn Superstore for 6 years. Congratulations, Angela Dooley, Little Falls Area Chamber of Commerce September Employee of the Month. That completes this week's Local News Week in Review.